Hello and welcome. I am Jen Sorensen and I've got a science experiment in front of me. Well, I mean, that's what it looks like. Actually, what I'm gonna be doing is for the first time ever, literally you are watching me do this for the first time. I've never even practiced off camera. I'm gonna make cold process soap. Now, in a previous video where I did a melt and pour soap tutorial, I followed along with a kit. I talked about the difference between soaps. So melt and pour is just kind of, you melt it up, you add some fragrance, some color, maybe some designs in it, and that's your soap. Cold process soap, which is what I'm going to be doing now, is, kind of the artisan soap that you typically see, where you combine a lye and water and then a whole bunch of oils, and I have some pre-mixed oils here. Just because this is my first time, I'm gonna try and make it a little bit easier. You combine them in what's called saponification. It's a big kind of chemistry term. I like to think about that as you emulsify it together the way you would oil and vinegar in a salad dressing. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing, except we're doing it to make soap. So I've got fragrance oil, I've got some pigments here, some dye, I've got everything I need. Let's try this. Let's see what we've got here. Lye is caustic, but during the chemistry process of combining with the oils and the saponification, it becomes easy to use. But in its straight form, and even the oil mixture and everything that I make is going to be caustic. So I have gloves on, I have long sleeves, pants, closed-toe shoes, and I'm even going to put on these stylish, trendy glasses. What do you think? Does it fit me? You think so? All right, the first step, and actually I need to dry this out here because that's wet, is I need to measure out my water and my lye. So I need to get this good and dry. Dry. I am using some reusable containers here. In my research, what I found is if your container, your plastic has a 5 or a 2 in the middle of the triangle, then you can use that for your lye water solution. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a scale here, and you're gonna see, look over to the side, I have a recipe. This is chemistry, this is science. I need to be exact. What I'm gonna do is first, I'm gonna measure out my distilled water. And I need 10 ounces. So I'm going to turn my scale on, tar it out to 0. Come on, there we go. And I'm going to measure out exactly 10 ounces of water, distilled water. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9.91, 10.05. I think that's probably good enough. I don't need that. And the next thing I need is lye. I'm going to zero that out. And I need 4.7 ounces of sodium hydroxide lye. And these are lye flakes. All right, that's 1.3. Just about 2. 3.2, 3.95, 4.56, 4.66, 4.7. Okay, perfect. Now, this is, that's not on straight. I really want to make sure this is on good. Okay. I'm going to put this over to the side. And I don't need my scale right now, so I'm going to move this out of the way. We'll need power tools later. Now, when I add the lye to the water, it's going to heat up. It may steam. You need to add it very slowly. Apparently, it's going to make a little bit of a smell. So what I think I might do is open this window behind me so I have a well-ventilated area. I have a window across the way open. So if you hear some stuff, that's probably what it is. But I want to make sure I'm in a well-ventilated area because this is going to do some fumes. Okay, this is almost completely dissolved. I want to see how hot this is. What do you guys think? How hot do you think it is? Without knowing, if you don't know much about lye, put in the comments before I test the temperature. Did 10 ounces of distilled water. That way there was no like minerals or anything like that in the water. And I did 4.7 ounces of lye. Let's see what that does. What do you think? Put in the comments right now. What do you think the temperature is? Did you guess? 199. 199.5 degrees. That's what and this is room temperature water. Room temperature distilled water, room temperature lye. And that's what it has done to this. So I need to let this cool down to work with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lid on it to protect this because I don't want to bump it. I don't want to spill it. I'm going to put a lid on it. And in the meantime, what I need to do is in this glass container, I need to get my oils up to temperature. So I need to bring them up because in here, they're combined. And I got this from Brambleberry. I'm just using their basic quick mix. This is 33 ounces, give or take a little bit. So I need to actually weigh out, that's what the recipe calls for, is 33 ounces of oils. So I'm gonna put my scale on and I'm gonna tar it out so that it doesn't count the weight of the glass bowl. This is actually meant to be microwaved in it. Now you can see it's kind of in a little bit of a solid state here. It's not clear and liquidy. So I need to microwave it. This bag is meant to be microwaved in. So I'm gonna put it in the microwave for maybe 20 seconds in some 20-second increments to see if I can get this up a little bit in temperature. What does this call for? This says between 110 and 130. I might go more to the 130 while I bring this down to the lye down to temperature so that I can kind of bring that to a similar temperature because I want to be similar before you combine them. So let's do that. Okay, see the difference here? It looks like oil, it looks liquid, so I think I'm ready to go. I'm going to turn this back on because it turned off, nice little power saver. All right, and I'm going to measure out 33 ounces of oil. Let's see how accurate they really are. 11, 22, that is 33. We got just a touch more, and I don't think that's going to do any harm. We'll find out. All right, I'm going to throw this away. Trying to keep this a clean space. So while I'm going to stir this a little bit. I've heard some people will actually make their lye water the day before so that it's nice and cool and at room temperature, and they'll work with slightly cooler oils as well. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try that next time. All this stuff arrived today and I kind of couldn't wait to play with it. And this lye water looks completely clear. What are we at? 161. So I'm going to keep kind of moving this on my, I'm gonna keep moving this on my granite counter because I think it's nice and cool, and I think that's gonna help cool it down from the bottom. While I wait for this to cool, I'm gonna prep my fragrance oil and my colorant so that I'm ready to go when I need it. So for the colorant, what they say to do is I need a little bit of oil, and so I need about a tablespoon of oil to a teaspoon. So that's a third of the pigment to one of the oil. So I'm going to take a tablespoon of my oil that's in here. I'm going to pour it into just a little container. And then I'm going to take, this is Aqua Pearl Mica, light aqua color and cold process soap. Shelf life indefinite. It's got a little sparkle to it. Let's open this up, and we are going to add a teaspoon. Here we go. And I don't know, I'm gonna level this off for now. I bet I don't need to be that careful, but I'm going to be just for the sake of this. And what I'm going to do is I have a notebook here. This is going to become my soaping notebook, and I'm going to jot down what I do for these recipes as I go about this and learn. So let me wipe off some of that pigment on my gloves. They're very colorful right now. All right. And now I have this little mini whisk. Ooh. I'm going to kind of stir first without turning it on. This is called dispersing the pigment or the mica. And now I'm gonna, woo! Can you hear that? That's a pretty teal color. Okay. All right, so I just dispersed my pigment, and now I am going to measure out my fragrance oil. This is Island Escape. It has mild acceleration and cold process. So that means it's gonna speed things up a little bit, which I don't mind because I'm just gonna do a straight basic soap. It discolors to a tan. So I might wanna add a little bit of titanium dioxide. Yeah. So I have some titanium dioxide here. And what I'm gonna do is mix a little bit with water in one of these cups. That's gonna help me make sure that it doesn't discolor too much. My guess, so vanilla fragrances tend to have a tendency, anything with vanilla really, tends to discolor your soap. Again, this is all hearsay. I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't. But I've done my research, and I think that's really important when you're working with something that is possibly, you know, this is a science experiment. There are things that can go wrong. So I want to add a teaspoon of water here. And I think I'm going to do the same of titanium dioxide. Now these are measuring utensils that I am going to exclusively use for soaping. I'm not going to use them for anything else. So I'm going to add a half teaspoon of titanium dioxide. The cat's over there getting into plastic. Does anyone else have a cat that loves plastic? All right. Seal that up. And I can always add more. I can't take it out. My kitchen's not usually like this with all this stuff all over the cabinets, but I definitely needed to have wanted to lay everything out, and then I also wanted to make sure that I had things at arm's reach. Once I get to know what I'm doing, I'll know what I need and what I don't need. All right, let's stir this lye again. I'm impatient, can you tell? 148, we're getting there. So we've got, you know, I'd like to get it down into the 120s. So this is at 112. All right. So my titanium dioxide, I have my pigment. Now I need, as I reach out and grab something off camera, now I need my fragrance oil. So this is Island Escape by Brambleberry, discolors to tan, and definitely read your labels, hence the titanium dioxide. Mild acceleration and cold process. Shelf life best within 1 to 2 years. So let's smell this and see what kind of fragrance we're getting. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of coconut. That's probably why it accelerates, because some coconut stuff I think has some vanilla. I'm getting some fruity and floral. I'll have to look up what the actual description is and put it in the comments below. This smells really nice. It smells very summery. Oh yeah, I need to kind of measure this out. So I want about 2.5 ounces of this. Measuring carefully. That's 1/2 ounce. Okay, I need a good amount. 1.5. Okay, that's 2.5 ounces. Is that on? Okay, put that on. I'm gonna moving things out of the way as I don't need them, because the less stuff I have here, the easier it's going to be for me to kind of process all of this. So, fragrance oil, titanium dioxide. I do not think I need my scale anymore, so I'm gonna move it off to the side. Bring this closer. And kind of move these out of the way. I have my mold ready to go for as soon as I need it. I have a whisk in case I need to whisk. I have a spatula, I'm gonna need that. And I have this whole utensil bowl of utensils that I'm gonna use exclusively for cold process here. I have my silicone mat. This is my crafting mat down on my granite countertops in advance, so I'm not kind of spilling anything, because I want to protect my surfaces here. What are we up to? 143, we're getting there. So in the olden days, they used to blend this together by hand, whisk it together by hand. We are going to use an emulsion blender. I love these things. I will make homemade tomato sauce, so I'll roast fresh tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, regular tomatoes. I'll roast them under the broiler in the oven, cover them in a little bit of olive oil with some garlic, and then I will puree them with a little bit of basil and amazing tomato sauce. And then sometimes I'll take that, add a little bit of vodka and cream, vodka sauce. So what we do with this, you know, I'll make salad dressings, soups. I make a good ginger carrot soup sometimes, which is really good if you're not feeling all that ginger. So this is really gonna help emulsify things. I'm gonna put this in here. And all the tutorials talk about burping. And when you burp, like air comes out, so you wanna kind of tap this down. And I already saw there were a couple of air bubbles that came up. I've never done that in any of my, you know, any of my recipes where I've needed this. So I think that's kind of a cool technique. I'm definitely gonna do that when I make stuff. So if I'm making a soup and I have to pour stuff in, I'm gonna try that out. How are we doing? 140, all right, we're getting there. I think this cool countertop is definitely helping. For what I've seen a bunch of people do is they will add the titanium dioxide directly into, and even sometimes the pigment, into the oils and blend that up. But I'm gonna need to get this to an emulsion. I'm going to need to get it all combined, and that can kind of hinder my ability to see when the oil and the lye water have fully combined and aren't separating. So when it separates, you're gonna be able to still see traces of oil. and I probably shouldn't have used the word trace there because we want to bring this to what's called a light trace, or in my case, I probably want a medium trace. That's where I can take this out and I can kind of do my initials and see where I traced. That's light trace. I'm not an expert. I'm gonna link to some channels for you to check out because they're more of an expert than I am. Let me check my instruction. Make sure I'm good here. Okay, my lime water is at 136, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some sodium lactate. This is what Brambleberry recommends. I'm going to put down in my journal that I use this. I'm probably going to make some other recipes without it and test which one I like more and experiment with that. Because there's some wiggle room here with what we can do with this chemistry, but it's basically a salt and it's going to help make it harder. And I don't know, sometimes I might want a harder bar, sometimes I may not. So I need to add 2 teaspoons to the lye water. And this is gonna help pull it down as well. 1, 2. All right, let's stir that in. Have you guys ever gone down a rabbit's hole and been like, what did I just do? Please tell me you have, please, please. And that I'm not the only crazy one here. All right, let's see where we are at. You know, I want to heat up my oils about another 10 degrees because it's cooled down a little bit. So I want to bring this up just a touch. All right, it's time. The lye water has cooled. My oils are back up to the right temperature. What I'm going to do next is I am going to take my lye water, pour it down the shaft of the immersion blender or stick blender, and then I'm going to kind of stir this a little bit, pulse it lightly, and combine this. So let's see how this goes. And the point of pouring it down the shaft is to try and reduce bubbles. So you want to try and avoid bubbles in your soap. And I'm pouring slowly. All right. Stirring. I'm going to stir on low here. I'm going to stop and I'm going to kind of wiggle this around. I don't know. It's emulsified. I definitely know that. I don't know. I think I'm like, I don't think I'm at light trace. Like it's just kind of dripping. It's emulsified, but I need to go a little bit more. All right, I just did a few more seconds. Yeah, this feels like light trace. You know what I'm equating this to? If you're familiar with cooking and making French sauces, this feels like nappe. So when you run your finger down a spoon in cooking and you're making a sauce, it doesn't come back together. So I feel like we're at nappe stage for cooking, which I'm gonna add my pigments to. I'm gonna add my titanium dioxide. Did I get it all? Not quite. And I'm going to add, let's see, a little bit of stir. And I'm going to add my pigment, my mica. And I can always add more. I can't take it out. that is why I'm going this route. So look at that color. And I want to take my spatula and scrape down the side a little bit. Oh yeah, this is definitely light trace. Definitely. I say that with so much confidence when I really don't know. So there are a lot of techniques where you can split this up and do some different colors, blend things up, and I'll get to that, but I need to get this down first. I'm doing one color. I wanted kind of a light aqua. I might want a little, I don't know. You know what, I'm gonna let it be. I'm gonna add my fragrance oil, and this is supposed to accelerate. So I'm gonna mix it in a little bit here. I'm already seeing it thicken up a little bit as I added that in. So let me blend this a little bit. You can't unblend. It's almost like a really pretty sea green color right now. And I'm kind of good with that. All right, I need to get this a little bit thicker because I want to mold it up a little bit in my container. So I'm just maybe 5 or 6 seconds more. All right, I think I'm good with this because I can always let it set up in the mold. I'm going to scrape down my immersion blender. And I want to give this a good stir to make sure I got everything in. All right, so I have this 12-inch loaf mold from Brambleberry, and they have 10-inch and 12-inch. The 10-inch is wider, and the 12-inch is taller. I just picked one. I'll probably get them both eventually and see which one I like. But again, we're all about experimenting. This is supposed to fill one mold. So let's pour this. This is heavy. Okay, I can see this setting up a little bit, which is good. It's like the perfect amount. I'm gonna scrape this bowl down. Wipe it clean, get it all out, get as much soap in there, not get it on the floor. Pay attention to where you have your bowl, Jen. Get this all into the mold. I'm kind of loving this color right now, and it's probably going to change because it did say, as I read to you, that the fragrance will discolor a little bit. We'll see how much. Okay. I'm going to take another spoon and scrape this off the mold. Not the mold, the spatula, silly. It's late. It's almost my bedtime. This still has the lye in it. I'm gonna let this set before I clean it. I'm not taking my gloves off. If I wanna wash this now, I'm gonna wash it with gloves on because it's lye water. And again, I'm not gonna touch any of this stuff with the lye without my gloves on. I don't want to touch that. I'm going to wash all this stuff with gloves. So I want to let this set up a little bit. And what I think I'm going to do is try and get a little bit of texture. And if I kind of spread this out with a spoon, I can get a nice flat top. But what I've been told, what I've been seeing in all the videos, is that you want texture, you want it to look interesting. So when you slice it, it looks nice. So I need to let this set up a little bit more. I think I'm gonna do a few of these dishes and then I'm gonna come back and mold this a little bit. So stay tuned.
All right, this is about 10 hours after I made this loaf and it's looking good. Let's see. Pulls away. I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to try and pull it out just yet. This is a heavy duty mold. I think we're going to wait until the end of the day today and then I will take it out of the mold and see how it cuts. So stay tuned. Okay, let's see how this cuts. I have a ceramic knife here. It is not serrated, which you're not supposed to have for this. I do have a wire cutter coming, so I'm gonna try both of these, but I'm gonna try this. And what I've done is I've lined it up so it overlaps a little bit on the end. I'm gonna have half-size bars because I want a nice clean cut. So let's see how this cuts right here. Oh my goodness, that's so soft. I'm just going nice and slow. Wow. So it's definitely shiny. I'm not seeing the gel there. Let's keep going. Really soft. It just slides down like a nice piece of butter. That looks nice. Oh, you can see I took a chunk out of that one when I lifted my knife up, so I got to twist and be more careful. And see, this is why we did the texture. You can see how when you slice it, it has a little bit of texture on top. It's definitely sticky. All right. I'm just gonna slide my knife. Yeah, I'm not seeing any of the gelling here. So maybe it didn't actually after all. It just looked a little bit like it. Looking really nice. And it smells good too. The house smells like it. It's kind of nice. My dad was cleaning the gutters for me. He's awesome. And man, did it smell. So it's nice to have a little bit of this scent going on in the house. And these aren't perfectly sliced. They're not even exactly, but that's kind of the nice thing about this is I'm learning. You know, I'm doing what I can to get some nice slices here. Yeah, this is looking really nice. This is apparently going to need to cure for about 4 to 6 weeks before it can actually be used, which is crazy. But that's also why I want to start a journal of how I am going about this. So I'm noting the day that I made these. And that way, when I go back and I need to see when I made them, when things are ready, I'll know and I can go back and I can see, okay, I made this on this day. It's ready to use. Clean up that last edge. All right. So I was able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 decent bars, and then a couple of ones on the end that could be like samples, testers to see how things work out of that one batch. Not bad. Not bad at all. And if you can see, I'm kind of starting to get things set up for another batch here. I'm going to try and make a lavender batch soon, and I'll share that with you as well.